This is the brief on Teresa Giudice's experience on Special Forces. So in this video, we'll be talking about Teresa Giudice's, well, pretty surprising departure from Special Forces, world's toughest test. We're going to get into the candid details she shared, about her regret and just how intense things got for her emotionally afterwards. Okay, so the first update we have today is that Teresa Giudice opened up about leaving the show, becoming the second person out after Brittany Cartwright. She admits she was terrified right from the start, mostly because she saw all the water stuff and, well, she doesn't know how to swim. Teresa clarifies her daughter Gia actually motivated her to do it. She even talked to Kenya Moore and Denise Richards beforehand, and yeah, they warned her it was so hard. Now, during the challenges, Teresa actually got into it with a staffer who called her stupid. She demonstrates how she pushed back, telling him that's not nice, feeling like she had to give him a piece of her mind. But, still respecting his military role. Her exit on day 2? It really came down to a potential fight brewing between Gia and Christy Pierce-Rampone. Teresa reveals she absolutely would have definitely jumped in if Gia got hit. She says her decision was really all about Gia, prioritizing being a mom. Leaving was tough, though. She illustrates the emotional stress, saying she cried that whole night and kept crying the next day until Gia came home. Luis Rulas even noticed how different she was. Her big regret? Not breaking in those boots or walking with the heavy vest beforehand, like they told her to. Oh, and she thinks maybe Whitney Rose, Jennifer Aiden, or Dolores Catania should give the show a try next. Before we get into the next update, I need to check in with you all. If you're enjoying our little tea session, take a millisecond to hit the like button and subscribe to join the best reality TV community on YouTube. Done? Let's move on to next update now.
Next, we are going to talk about the latest drama surrounding the Real Housewives of Orange County, focusing on Tamra Judge's decision to meet with Keiarna amidst all this controversy involving Gretchen Rossi and those naked wasted rumors. Okay, so Tamra Judge is basically defending her choice to sit down with Keiarna. She felt she really needed to understand exactly what was being said about her in this whole naked wasted drama with Gretchen Rossi. Especially, since Katie had failed that lie detector test earlier in the season. Tamra argued she had to know how this alleged lie was being framed because she's convinced Gretchen absolutely told Katie she'd been drugged and even hospitalized during a dinner date last year. Tamra was worried, that if the story got out there, people might actually believe it, even if it was completely untrue. But the other co-stars, they were not having it. They really disagreed with Tamra focusing on Katie at all. Gina Kirschenheiter and Emily Simpson both agreed Katie is just highly untrustworthy. And Emily Simpson, she drew a pretty clear line saying what Katie did is 1,000,000 times worse than what Gretchen did. Her point was Gretchen was just having a private conversation talking, shit, which the group often does. But Katie, she's the one who apparently took that private chat and went public, seemingly hinting at interactions with bloggers. Then you've got Shannon Picdor and Heather Dubrow questioning why Tamra's even taking Katie seriously. They suggested Tamra's just super determined and obsessed to find anything that'll hurt Gretchen. Jennifer Pedrante kind of shed more light on Tamra's motives, noting Tamra is desperate for anything against Gretchen and figures Katie's an easy target because she has nobody. Jennifer even warned Katie to be careful. As for Katie, well, she shared she was actually extremely happy to meet with Tamra. She felt validated when Tamra said, "I believe you," saying it meant a lot after being called a liar. So this was today's update about Tamra Judge defending her meeting with Keiarna and the subsequent backlash from the RHOC cast. Let's now move on to the next update. Next, we are going to talk about Wendy Osefo's recent candid interview, discussing her status with Karen Huger, her support for Stacey Rusch, and her thoughts on the new season of The Real Housewives of Potomac. Okay, so this all comes from her chat on the Gabbing with Gib podcast with Gibson Johns. And get this, the interview was recorded literally just days before her shocking arrest for fraud. Kind of wild timing, right? All right, so Wendy illuminates that big fallout with the Grand Dame Karen Huger. She confirmed they haven't spoken since Karen's release from jail. And Wendy, she basically put the ball firmly in Karen's court, saying any path forward is now on her. Why? Well, Wendy feels like Karen showed she just doesn't value their friendship. I mean, think about it. Wendy highlights how she was one of Karen's strongest supporters, even backing her through that 4th DUI. But then Karen just ignored her in the season 9 reunion video message. Wendy said she felt completely thrown under the bus. Then, shifting gears a bit to the new season 10 dynamics, Wendy weighed in on Stacey Rusch. When asked if she agrees Stacey felt Ashley Darby and Giselle Bryant were kind of ganging up on her, Wendy's response was absolutely yes. She even drew a parallel to her own past experiences on the show, confirming she definitely stands up for Stacey as the season goes on. Wendy clarifies, it's not really about whether Stacey is right or wrong, it's the way friends questioning each other, you know? We're apparently going to see the Stacey of it all through season 10. And she also addressed that issue with Keiarna Stewart. Wendy basically characterizes the conflict as a one-sided beef, suggesting it might just be, well, fake drama for the cameras. She illuminates this by noting that just 2 weeks before filming started, they were laughing and having a good time. So Wendy was really thrown off because Keiarna only seemed to have a problem once those cameras started rolling. So this was today's update about Wendy Osefo's candid thoughts on RHOP drama. Let's now move on to next up.
Okay, next, we are going to talk about Teresa Giudice's recent revelations regarding her experience on Special Forces, World's Toughest Test. And yeah, a pretty surprising story from her past. So, Teresa, who's 53, she opened up about the real reason she bounced early from that Fox series. And it really demonstrates the huge emotional toll that decision took, you know, and her really strong protective instinct as a mother. All right, so during an episode of Special Forces, while she was getting ready for this boxing challenge, Teresa did a confessional. She said, look, people think she's tough, but she only really flies off the handle when she's like really provoked. And she illuminated this with a story from way back. Apparently after an ex-boyfriend cheated, she admitted, I knocked the bitch out. Whoa. But she says now she feels regret, saying she should have knocked him out instead. Okay, so this intense personal stuff kind of sets the scene for why she ultimately left the competition early. Her exit actually happened during a challenge because she just couldn't bring herself to watch her daughter, Giudice, who's 24, fight. Teresa was worried that, as a mom, she would have definitely jumped in to protect Gia, and she really didn't want her daughter to see her get into a physical fight like that. She shared that leaving, it took everything out of her. She was extremely emotional, cried that whole night, cried on the trip home, even when she got back. Her husband, Louis Rillis, apparently noticed she just wasn't herself until Gia finally came home too. And yeah, she thought about going back, but decided, nope, gotta be a mom first, always trying to set good examples for her kids. Gia totally understood her mom's decision later, and Teresa said their reunion was just amazing. So this was today's update about Teresa Giudice and Special Forces. Let's now move on to next update. Next, we are going to talk about Tom Schwartz. Okay, so the Vanderpump Rules star Tom Schwartz, well, he's given us some pretty big updates lately. We're talking about his serious new relationship, his thoughts on maybe having kids down the line, and yeah, where things stand with Tom Sandoval after, everything. So, first up, he confirmed he is dating someone new. And get this, he says it's serious, definitely not just a fling. Now, you might remember all those rumors flying around because of Lala Kent's playful soft launch post back in September. People were totally convinced they were secretly an item. But Schwartz clarified he kept quiet about that joke out of respect for his actual new partner. Apparently, she's in on the joke, understands the whole thing. Lala even described her as very hot, with a supermodel stunning face. And Schwartz himself admitted he was texting a friend, saying he was really digging somebody right now. So, sounds like it's going well. Then, switching gears a bit, he opened up about wanting kids. He actually said he feels like he'd have an existential meltdown if he gets to 50 and hasn't had children. He doesn't want to be too rigid about timing, wants to stay present and happy, but fatherhood is definitely something he's thinking about. And finally, the update everyone's been wondering about. Tom Sandoval. Speaking on his podcast, Detox Retox, Schwartz confirmed that, yeah, they are speaking again. Seems like a big step towards fixing things after they took that needed break to kind of recalibrate everything post-Sandoval. Schwartz even mentioned Sandoval's on tour right now, and he was planning to meet with them soon in Texas. So, they're working on it. So, this was today's update about Tom Schwartz. Let's now move on to next update. Next, we are going to talk about some key updates shared by Meredith Marks. So, Meredith was on SiriusXM's Jeff Lewis Live recently, right? And she talked about a couple of things. First off, she had some good news about Mary Cosby's son, Robert Cosby Jr. His struggles with addiction have been pretty public this season, involving arrests and rehab stays. Well, Meredith mentioned she'd actually spoken to Mary just a couple days before the interview, and Mary apparently shared that Robert Jr. is doing very well now. She believes he's really on the other side and is thriving, which is great news. even though Mary mentioned he might have gone through a little bit again recently. So that sounds pretty encouraging overall. Okay, then the conversation shifted to that memorable cast camping trip. Jeff Lewis, he straight up said he didn't buy that Meredith actually spent the whole night on that RV. Remember how less than thrilled Meredith looked about sleeping in a vehicle lacking running water during the trip? Yeah. So Jeff kind of confronted her about it, and Meredith gave this classic coy response, asking, "Well, you saw me wake up there, didn't you?" Jeff, though, still totally unconvinced. He basically added that he figured she just, made it early call time for filming. So this was today's update about Meredith Marks' appearance on Jeff Lewis Live. Let's now move on to next up.
Next, we are going to talk about former Summer House star Paige DeSorbo's new career path, following her exit from the show. So, Paige has really decided to pivot away from reality TV lately. She actually announced back in June that she wouldn't be returning for Summer House Season 10. And get this, she apparently also turned down appearing on Special Forces, World's Toughest Test. Clearly, she's focusing elsewhere. And that big focus? It's her new loungewear line called Daphne. Okay, the inspiration for this is kind of funny. She said the whole idea came about because fans on Summer House used to call her the laziest girl in America since she was often seen just lounging in bed. So she thought, hey, I can actually make a business out of that. Smart. The line's named after her cat, Daphne, and she created it because she felt there was a gap in her own closet for this kind of stuff. She describes it as being made for the girl who's working very hard, but she's sleepy. I think a lot of us can relate to that. Now, she mentioned maybe including items for men eventually, but right now she says, and I quote, "I don't care about the men right now." Her main advice for new entrepreneurs, always trust your gut, calling it your best employee. Good advice. But wait, there's also this really interesting rumor going around that she might appear in The Devil Wears Prada 2? The sequel set for release May 1st, 2026? She sort of teased about it, saying if the rumor's true, it would be crazy, and she'd be thrilled if she was seen on set. Well, People magazine actually reported she was spotted on that very set back in August 2025, so maybe it's happening.